Welcome to my literature review presentation for City University of Seattle. Women continue to be underrepresented in educational leadership positions. Global and local studies at both school and district-based levels reflect common concerns. The problem is that while gender inequality is often studied, this issue remains unresolved. There has been a worldwide increase in the number of women in senior leadership roles, yet females remain underrepresented in school superintendent and principal positions. While the majority of teachers are women, there are a disproportionate number of school administrators and superintendents who are men. Gender inequality in educational leadership, as identified by Heslinga and Lumby, shows a growing need for additional research. The studies cited and the conclusions described in this literature review presentation provide evidence to justify further examination and a proposed research study into gender representation and leadership in K-12 education. Numerous other studies and videos describe the issue. Only a few will be identified in this presentation. The major purpose of this presentation is to identify and demonstrate research gaps. This review is structured in three parts: background, barriers, and the impact of a leader's gender within the educational environment. The questions to be answered in this review include: what research has been done to explain the male-female disproportionality in educational leadership roles? What are the findings of this research? And what research has been done to explore how a leader's gender may influence the school or school district they lead? What are the findings of this research? Following the three sections of the literature review, conclusions are presented. The final slides provide a list of cited references. Research on gender inequities within educational leadership positions is ongoing. Even as women outnumber men in teaching jobs, educational leadership remains predominantly male-dominated. While similar numbers have been found in most countries, Burton and Weiner found that more than 86% of the American teaching force is female. This statistic, when compared to the percentage of female principals in the U.S., indicates disproportionality in the leadership role. Burton and Weiner also indicated that women make up 52% of the principals in grades K-8 and only 30% at the high school level. In a similar study by the American Association of School Administrators, results show that the number of women superintendents is approximately 1 to 3. On the global scale, Lumby indicated that cultural understandings are not in alignment with Western Enlightenment. Mendez and Busenbarg found similar results. Seligton noted that barriers and discrimination exist worldwide, and Rashid added that as gender barriers are social relationships, slow systematic changes are a challenge to gender equality. The issue of gender inequality has received considerable attention in many countries and cultures around the world. Anastasio and Papakonatanatu identified that in Greece, a low number of women leader candidates were nominated for senior positions, that selection methods and interview procedures favor men, and that for women to attain leadership positions, they were required to perform better than men on written examinations. Consistent with these findings, Bagahol, following an 8-country comparative analysis, revealed that some differences do exist, yet overall gender equality for women in higher educational leadership positions is lower than for their male counterparts. Jones and Palmer complemented these findings when quantitatively they found that while the majority of women perceived support from other women on the career advancement side, the qualitative data suggested that jealousy was a concern. Considerable research continues to be conducted by organizations such as the American Association of University Women, and displayed in this PowerPoint is the link to their Barriers and Bias report from March of 2016. Research studies have found that even with modest growth in numbers, there are challenges or barriers women face when ascending to leadership positions. Darrington and Sherratt discovered that in addition to sex discrimination, stereotyping, and a school board's lack of information, the barriers women faced were often self-imposed. Similar results were uncovered by Deal. Looking at gender challenges in Jordan, Al-Jaradat also found parallel results to those identified in Darrington and Sherratt and Deal's U.S. studies. Women face organizational, personal, and social challenges. Blackmore described leadership as a normative, collective, and relational practice. Founded in critical race and feminist theories, Blackmore discovered a pedagogy of discomfort and found that educational institutions are not integrating the professional learning of leaders into their structural processes. Mirroring the research findings of Blackmore, Burton and Weiner found that leadership preparation programs are missing components of gender identity. The lack of comprehensive principal preparation programs disadvantages women and promotes male stereotypes. In educational settings, leadership is a relationship-dependent social practice. Hoff and Mitchell identified that social practices and belief systems lead to the masculine privilege in the patriarchal society that exists within school administration. In complementing Blackmore's conceptual paper and Hoff and Mitchell's research, Seligton discovered that negative stereotypes and attitudes attributed to women in managerial roles does not afford women opportunities for leadership. Recruiting and hiring senior-level educational administrators is the responsibility of school boards. Sampson and Davenport established that hiring people like themselves practices are in favor of men. They also found that school boards and search firms, which are male-dominated, lack gender-based training and equity programs. These gendered belief systems and stereotypes were further supported by the study of Gosher, Friesen, and Kay. The results of their studies into the wording of job advertisements revealed that gendered wording did not impact individual judgments or beliefs surrounding their personal ability to do the job. Nevertheless, it does affect a woman's view of the job. System structures and behaviors are slow to change. Complementing the work of Gosher et al., Dana Borisov and Kasher, Reichel, and Wallen concluded that when women are hired into senior positions, they are most likely to be placed in small or rural areas, receive less pay, have less prestige, and often take on complex roles, and the tenure may be shorter than that of a man. Dana and Borisov also found that cultural bias, cultural values, and gendered policy are indicative of male dominance and that women may be selected simply as token candidates in a final list of applicants. In contrast to the previously noted studies, Sampson, Grecian, Applewhite, and Roberts found that the larger percentages of women superintendents in Texas were in urban and central suburban areas. Furthering the research, Hoff and Mitchell identified men as those most likely to quickly move up the leadership ladder. In support of this discovery, Seligton found that here, women encountered barriers. They experienced sex discrimination, and it is males who maintain the power of decision-making in schools. Mirroring these research findings, Wallace confirmed that gender bias and work-life balance were found to be deterrents to a quick climb up the leadership ladder. Women have to wait longer, remain determined, fight harder, and survive both scrutiny and institutional bias to attain the position of superintendent. Translating the educational leadership challenge from business research, it is clear that the same issues arise in organizations around the world and in many industries. The link posted here will allow you to view how to develop top talent and remove barriers for women, which is shown to be present in the leadership realm. Stereotyping and the invisible glass ceiling remain as obstacles for women. Sampson and Davenport noted that the school superintendent's role is the most male-dominated of professional positions. The researchers found that women are often funneled into curriculum development positions or remain in teaching. They are 40 times less likely to advance to senior leadership positions. Sampson and Davenport also found varied opinions related to stereotyping. Contradictory responses indicated that there are opposing views on whether women had to work harder and be willing to relocate in order to attain desired positions. In a similar vein, Rashid's narrative inquiry did not reveal uniformity across societies and cultures. Rashid identified family support and the early history as factors which most influenced their career paths. There was limited mention of the glass ceiling. In a TED Talk from 2012, Eleanor Tabby Holler-Jordan spoke to an audience in Zurich. Gender-based stereotypes and gender bias, she concluded from her international research, noted that bias and stereotypes continue to exist. Darrington and Sherrod, as well as Sampson and Davenport, found that self-imposed barriers are at play. Motherhood and family obligations influence women's decisions to seek a superintendency. Through an examination of gender barriers, this review afforded the opportunity to examine the disproportionality of women in senior educational roles. Conflicting evidence in the research findings indicates that further study is needed. The similarities and dissimilarities in the findings indicate gaps in the research and the need for further study. In the relationship between school leadership and the organization, student success and school climate, as well as perceived effectiveness of a leader, are important. To assess the relationship between effective school leadership and student achievement, J.D. Nichols and Nichols uncovered two significant factors. Students in school led by either males or females scored consistently on state exams, yet women leaders were judged more harshly. Berkman discovered similar results. Schools reinforce a male-dominant culture, and women are perceived as less effective. These research findings recognize the inequity between male and female leaders and the impact of gender stereotyping on school culture. Neither of these studies, however, assess the impact of the female administrator at the secondary level. In previously noted research by Bagahole, leadership effectiveness was examined. Male dominance, homosociability, and informal networks exclude women from leadership positions. Bagahole also found that when women are in positions of higher authority, local governance will judge them negatively. In contrast to what Bagahole and J.D. Nichols and Nichols found, Burns and Martin, as well as Postain, Underhill, Walker, and Warr, discovered that the perceptions individuals have of the leader are not founded in gender. Effective leadership behaviors are important, yet they are not related to the leader's gender. As described in the TED Talk by Eleanor Tabby Haller-Jordan, gender remains an issue in leadership. Contradictory findings, however, have been revealed. This incongruity uncovers a gap in the literature and one which may be further filled with additional research study. The intent of this presentation was to examine the current research and to discover what contributes to gender inequalities within the realm of educational leadership. Through evaluation of the academic research, it's evident that this disproportionality is similar in all countries. The number of women moving into top positions is increasing, yet the numbers remain unequal, and women are less likely to be represented in superintendent or principal positions. The research contributions afforded through this review indicated that barriers continue to impact women on their journey to attain top educational leadership positions. As women continue to face leadership challenge, the research revealed that social discrimination and institutional bias exist in the male-dominated educational environment. Education, which relies on social relationships, has not removed male privilege or system bias towards women in leadership. School district recruitment and hiring processes are slow to change. There is some discrepancy about where women leaders are assigned, whether there's a difference in pay, and how cultural bias and values may impact the recruitment process. Linked to the recruitment process is the issue of mobility. Family responsibilities and work-life balance, in addition to previously noted behaviors, impacts upward movement. Institutional bias and gender discrimination play a role in stereotyping and the glass ceiling phenomena. Research showed that while there is some consistency in the perceptions and limitations imposed from these barriers, there remains discrepancy surrounding the views and opinions about the impact and existence of the glass ceiling. Student success and school climate are impacted by leadership effectiveness. Nevertheless, controversy surrounds this issue. While some research finds women to be perceived more negatively and judged more harshly, other research affirms that it is inconsequential. Additional study into women in educational leadership may reveal evidence to confirm or disconfirm previous findings. This review examined current studies and provided what the researchers suggested as areas for future research. In addition to finding answers to the questions of gender disproportionality to subsequently fill the research gap, future studies may provide guidance for leaders and educational institutions. Enjoy your literature review journey.